I just realized something. I sometimes end these really funny, or it's like I don't like to just abruptly get off. I like to explain what's happening with me, whether I'm like, oh, I realize I'm going into bAbBLE mode, or I realize I'm talking to them and not you guys, or I'm doing both. And so it's like, how do I explain? They just showed something like, it's like, because I don't like to say goodbye. I don't like to say goodbye. At the same time, I do like things wrapped up neatly. I don't like loose ends, and I don't like goodbyes. It's almost like a contradiction. It seems to be, there's something right here, and I don't know if it's a problem for me or for all, or others probably can relate to this. I know this loops back to my mom, right? It's like, my mother, if you've been listening, you're well aware my mother committed suicide when I was 5 years old. And so, of course, that was jarring on my nervous system. It has caused a ripple effect of lessons for me, which is essentially beautiful. It's gifts for us, all these things. And yet, all of our experiences are for us. And but so you can also understand why that could be a wound or a soreness, saying goodbye, where it's like, I want to say goodbye. I don't like loose ends, right? Because that was a loose end. I didn't get to say goodbye. I didn't get to, it was like, have that proper closure. But I don't want that proper closure. I don't want you to go. I don't want to have that, right? So it's like that duality of you don't get to just leave and there's no closure, but I don't want there to be closure. So I don't want you to leave, right? It's like both. It's like, but I don't, I don't know how well I'm verbalizing that yet. That was more or less what was coming through. They had me listening to one recently or a while ago, but I know I do this on all of them, where it's kind of like I do both. Sometimes I end these, tie it up neatly, and other times I don't. But you also know that I'm on here consistently and I'm always coming back. All of this is kind of sad to me, because it's like, because it is always happening for us, right? It's like, am I doing it for you guys, or am I doing it for me, right? Because I'm showing up consistently for me. And I'm not leaving me. I'm not leaving my alignment. I'm not leaving my, it's like commitment to myself. Because so many others have left their commitment to me. And again, it's not necessarily the right way to look at it, because it's all happening for us. And hopefully they're staying in alignment with them. So, sometimes people can be doing what's best for them, but even though they're doing what's best for them, it's hurtful to us. But it's usually because we're mishinging something, right? We're attaching a meaning to it, or we're too dependent on them, or we're too enmeshed, or a billion of reasons why we do what we do, or think what we think, or feel what we feel. We feel what we feel usually because of what we're telling ourselves, right? It's a thought first before, it's like the idea of it's in the 5D before it comes to 3D. It's a thought before it's a thing. It's an idea before it's a manifestation. It's all the same thing. So it's the same thing. It's like, you thought it was this. You made that hinge. You made that connection. And so then you felt the consequences of that. So this is the idea of tell yourself the right thing so that you can also feel good. But you also don't want to be lying to yourself, right? You don't want to be excusing or justifying or explaining to simply feel good, but that's avoiding truth, right? It's like, are you able to stand just in truth and then make the right hinges, right? So it's like, let me give you a simple example. Like, my mother committed suicide. So I could have been always telling myself, and I had for many years, that it was all my fault, right? Like, I'm a bad kid. Like, she left because I was bad. We tell ourselves all types of things. That's just one example of the many of horrible lies I would tell myself that, as you can see, is having a adverse reaction that's making me sad. That feels fucking terrible. But if you tell yourself that long enough, it doesn't change that it feels terrible. But you believe that lie, and then you make it familiar, and then you get familiar with standing in that pain, that discomfort, that horrible lie that you continue to tell yourself. And so then you get used to being in those types of environments where you normalize lying to yourself about your reality, about what is actually happening, about what's actually going on. Because it's the only way as children that we can make sense of things, but as adults we can learn and know better and do better. Right? So then when you can step back out of your ego, out of your identity, out of your lie, and see the truth, my mother was in pain. And when you get to that tipping point of such extreme pain and you can't seem to get relief or release or sense or alignment, essentially what it is alignment. It's like the battle within is so strong and so great that you can no longer take it. You can't. It's like it is like being the child in between the angel and devil, and the tug of war is so great that it tears you to shreds, and so they can no longer take it, and out they go because they cannot get into unison. They cannot get into alignment within, and so that has nothing to do. That had nothing to do with me, right? And yet we can't, in our ego, in our mind, we can't always make sense of that. Of course, I had some part of it. Of course, I mattered. Of course, she thought of me. So it had to have been also me, right? And it's like, well, no, we're leaping there. We're making assumptions there. We're making jumps there, right? It's all part of it, and it's none of it. It's like we're all having this individual showdown here, and we're all engaged in the same showdown here. We're all part of the all, and we're all individual. It's all of it. It's both. And again, that duality is difficult for us at times, and that unattachment. It's those releasing of those old lies and ties, those old associations, those old hinges in our mind, those old belief systems, those old wirings that we didn't even, again, necessarily look at, right? I started telling myself all types of mishinges and lies at such a young age. At 5, you start telling yourself all types of stuff to explain it, because it couldn't possibly be, right, that all those things, I couldn't understand those things. I couldn't grasp it. I had no concept of those things. I could only have the concept of, I was with my mother 24/7. I loved her to death. I was like attached to her. And then poof. So it has to be me. I'm the common denominator. I'm blah, 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 right? And you just start grasping at straws, but you're making yourself bad, because you don't want to make the person bad. But the person wasn't bad either, right? So then it's like just horrible. It's horrible what our mind can do, but it's not that our mind is trying to hurt us. It's just the opposite. Our mind is trying to protect us. Our mind is trying to make sense of things. It's trying to grasp at anything it knows how to steady itself. And it comes up with whatever it comes up with, and it does it over and over and over again until we prove it differently or tell it differently. And then we almost have to prove it to ourselves. Like if we can understand and intellectualize and grow and mature out of those lies, it's almost like our mind will hold us to the fire, because it's been so hurt so many times that it's almost like that new belief is guilty until proven innocent. You got to prove you're right. You got to prove you're right until I believe you. And it's kind of the opposite of the way we want it to work. This is why, they show me all the times I'm backwards, right? The right way for everything in all of life is you have to believe it before you see it. And a lot of us are like, no, we've done that too many times. So that didn't work out well for us. So you show us, and then I'll believe you. You're guilty until I determine you're innocent. And it's just not the way it works. And we don't want it to work that way. We don't want it to work that way. But we've experienced the other way, and we believed the other way because that's what we kept experiencing. So we kept believing it. And then we kept proving ourselves right about it. And then we kept ourselves in pain, right? You can see the loop. And so it's like you have to unloop yourself, unhook yourself, unhinge yourself from these lies and ties, these loops, these painful ways, this lack mentality, this defense mentality, this having to defend oneself, fight for oneself, almost fear oneself, It's because you're fearing your own thoughts, right? And that's what it is. You have to that was likely part of the stuff that my mother dealt with. It's like you have to get back in alignment with yourself. You're not fighting yourself, right? It's like your mind is doing the best it can, and then you're mad at your mind for telling you things that don't feel good, But it's like, do you see how you're just fighting yourself? And so we have to get back in alignment with ourselves. We have to love ourselves. We have to tell ourselves the right thing, but we have to also bridge those gaps for ourselves. It's like, that's why it is this, it's like guilty until proven innocent. It's almost like you have to work with what your mind knows until you can get back into alignment and then have it continue to go in the right direction. So it is almost like you have to work backwards to get into alignment before you can then walk forwards, right? It's like the idea they had shown me so many times where they kept tumbling me backwards and that gap kept closing, because it's like you have to close those gaps before you can move forward. Otherwise, you're always going to be stuck in the depression or stuck in the anxiety and never in the present moment, because your higher self won't allow you to be there, because you haven't proven that it's safe to be there, because you haven't bridged the gap, you haven't explained it, you haven't made sense of it in a way that it can hear and understand and truly believe. So that's why you have to do it for yourself. You have to love yourself. You have to meet yourself where you're at and help yourself get to where it wants to go. But you have to explain that to yourself. It is like like for me, in my case, it is like explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old, because that's when a lot of pain started, right? And so a lot of lies started, a lot of mistruths and mishinges and all these things. And so it's like re-explaining a lifetime, because I was behaving, acting, and responding out of a wound, right? Out of lies, out of lack, out of pain, out of hurt. And so when all that crumbles, all those identities, all those hinges, all those beliefs, all those understandings, it is like earth shattering, right? And yet you have to meet yourself there. And so you got to walk yourself back. You have to walk back to that version of you and meet them there and explain it and make sense of it and bridge the gaps and be at peace with it and sit there as long as you need to sit there, continually proving that you are going to show up for you, that you are going to stay in alignment with you, that you're not leaving you, that you do matter, you're worth it, and you'll stay there as long as you need to stay there to prove it correct, that you prove yourself correct, that you love you, that you're not leaving you, that new belief, that new understanding, that truth is truth. And then it's like you're then parenting and growing up your inner child, right? It's those terms you hear. It's that idea. And then you love your inner child, you grow your inner child, you mature your inner child, you walk your inner child back up to where you are now. And that can take some time. And you have to be willing to do it. You have to know you're worth doing it. And you have to prove to your inner child that your inner child absolutely is worth it. And it's that idea of knowing that there's nothing better than feeling in alignment. And that's how you're going to get in alignment. You're going to have to bridge those gaps. You're going to have to change those beliefs. And to change those beliefs, you have to, it's like acknowledge those beliefs and understand them. Some people do, some people don't. Again, it depends on the belief and where it stemmed from and how deep it goes and how long back and And again, that takes time and effort and work. And, are you willing to do it? Are you worth it? I think so. I think everybody is. And yet you have to know that. That's why you have to do the work. You're the one who has to be consistent. You're the one who has to show up for you. You're the one who has to prove it to you that you love you. This is the idea of I can tell you all day long I love you, but it's irrelevant. It means nothing if you don't love you. Because if you don't love you, then you can't hear that I love you. It won't go in. It won't sink in, right? Because somewhere along the line, you started lying to yourself. You started mishinging things. You started resisting love. You started resisting truth. You started resisting all these things because the hinges you were making proved that wasn't true. And so we do this to ourselves. We torment ourselves until we decide to stop tormenting ourselves. And then it still feels like torment, right? When you're healing. And so you gotta be consistent and willing to continue to show up even when it hurts, even when it's painful. And sorry. It's like I just reached my limit right there. I got kicked out of whatever. I don't even know why I came on. Thanks so much for tuning in and listening. You can now purchase an audio journey with me using the link below.